Perhaps 50 boats work from Ulladulla and Eden, most of them trawlers catching their fish with seine nets, boats between 40 and 60 feet long, equipped for the open sea. The bigger vessels have echo sounders. But even with these, fishermen still need guesswork and intuition, along with the rule of thumb that come out of experience. There's no other way. Nobody's yet learned how to herd fish and direct their shadowy paths into some certain... Every season, their movements change. They are subject only to winds, currents, tide, the movements of the sea and the pastures they graze on. Eden, Ulladulla, and other ports along this stretch of coast, they're fishing towns. The boys grow up fishermen. Not much else to do for most of them. The sea or the timber mills, and most of them go to sea. 10 years at school, then deckhand on a trawler, skipper in a few years if they've got ambition. After that, a long time after, maybe their own boat. Eden or Ulladulla, it's just the same. Only the faces and the language change. The same kind of lessons being learned by boys in every fishing port in the world. And the boys who learn them are much the same too. Only the places and the faces are different. The boys are lucky. They were born in Ulladulla. This is their home and they are at home here. For the young men from Italy, their life is a kind of group exile. When they come home from the sea, they sometimes sit together in the pub, unable to talk to the people for whom this country is home. Exiled by language. No way of talking to Australian girls. For them, there's only the beer in the local pub and their own company, and Australians sitting with their kind in the other corner of the bar. For the newcomers, only hard work, money to be saved, and another cold morning on the sea tomorrow. All the time there's repairs. When you're not out at sea using the nets, you're home in port mending them, or an engine refit, or repairs on the hull, or scraping and painting. For the big tuna boats, there's work to be done in the shipyard during the layup season. Trawlers working round the year, it's get in when you can. Sometimes a boat's waiting for the slipway 2 or 3 months. Now that this one's on its way, there's another ready for its turn. And there's other things too. Ropes and nets. Over $1,000 for a seine trawler's gear. It all has to get paid for with fish. The gear comes in through the cooperative, the catch goes out through the cooperative. But of all supplies a trawler needs, nothing's more important than ice. Without ice, the boat must run for port as soon as the catch is hauled inboard. Without ice, the catch goes bad. A fisherman might make his own nets if he has to, but he can't make his own ice. So ice is almost the main reason for the cooperative's existence. Up the coast at Ulladulla, things are much the same. Like the Eden fishermen, they've mostly helped themselves. But when the first Italian fishermen came to the port years ago, things were tougher.
Well, we had no facilities at all. Everything was hard labour in them days. We used to have to Ice, we used to have to get our ice from Sydney, sometimes get it from the butter factories here. Regarding transport, we used to have the big blokes to bring our fish up the Nara, but that has all changed now with our co-op here. We've got transports going to Sydney nearly every day. We've got our own ice, and matter of fact, we've got everything, everything is shipshape or very good where the fishermen are concerned.
It's 3 o'clock. The sun won't rise for hours yet. Back on the hill, the town sleeps on. The men are on their way down to the jetty, huddled inside their heavy clothes against the morning cold. On the trawlers, the yellow eyes of the portholes open one by one as the cabin lights go on. Everything seems muffled. Sounds are deadened. No one talks much. It's too early. Each man thinks of the warm bed he's just left, and maybe wonders why he's taken up fishing for a living. Work's done in a half trance at this time of day, but getting done all the same, that's where experience tells. Each man is still silent with his thoughts in the dark. And out there on the reef somewhere, the fish are living out their lives in the silence of the sea, in their own savage competition for survival, which takes no account of nets and ropes and men. Faint in the starshine, the fleet clears the jetty, gliding out to sea through the dark. Back there in the town, it is still the country of dreams. Here, reality is the throbbing of engines, the sea wind, cold and salt-laden, humming through the rigging. And then the pale fire of the dawn. Still a long way to the fishing grounds, and the day's work still ahead. When it's raining or when a heavy sea's running, each man checks his every movement. Otherwise, you can risk being washed overboard. It wouldn't be the first time it's happened to the careless or the unlucky. They'll tell you that here along the New South Wales coast, the waters are teeming with fish. Maybe so. There are plenty of fish, all right, but a lot of water in between them, too. Finding them's not as easy as all that. There's a need for proper surveys to see just where they are and which way they go. Nothing much has been done so far, though the state government's building a boat for the job. Meanwhile, the fishermen go on working over the same old grounds, trusting to luck and local knowledge. For this kind of fishing, you stay on top of the continental shelf. And the trouble is, the continental shelf's not very wide along our east coast, not much more than 20 miles in these parts. At that distance from the coast, the seabed falls away sharply into deep water, and below 100 fathoms, you're wasting time and engine fuel. There's no good dropping your nets out there. But back here over the shelf, there's mostly fishing enough. Even fish that never get caught because nobody wants them. There's no market here for fresh sardines and pilchards. Australians eat them from a tin can, imported from another country. It's good for some of these export balances, but it's not much help to the local industry. Meanwhile, all this good fishing goes to waste for want of a market. On shore, fishermen are like any other men. They can talk about beer, football, racing, girls, gardening, the Saturday dance at the local club. At sea, there's only two subjects, the fish and the weather.
PH2JP calling all Ulladulla boats. PH2JP calling all Ulladulla boats. Here is today's south coastal weather forecast. Here is today's south coastal weather forecast. Showers, southwest to south wind, 15 to 25 knots. Slight to moderate sea. Repeat, showers, southwest to south wind, 15 to 25 knots. Slight to moderate sea. Here are today's fish prices. At Sydney fish markets, here are today's fish prices. Flathead, 1 and 5 to 2 and 2. Mowong, 1 and 3 to 1 and 4. Jackets, 1 and 9. Snapper, 1 and 11 to 3 shillings. Brim, 3 shillings. Over and out.
Hour after hour, 12 hours on end, 20 hours maybe if the fish are running, the little trawlers graze over the pastures of the sea. Time after time, the nets plunge over the side and are dragged aboard again. The skipper steers the trawler and gives the orders. The deckhands look after the ropes and the nets. Round here they use Danish seine nets. They may be 50 feet long, 40 feet deep. Lead sinkers or chains on the bottom weigh them down. Plastic bubbles on the top keep them afloat. Nearly a mile of rope to trail the net behind the trawler. It's hard, heavy work, often monotonous, frequently disappointing, and bleak work too when the weather turns cold. Under the water, the net is a slowly moving wall that gently gathers in the fish. Snapper, mullet, flathead, mowong. A few years back, the two towns were at loggerheads. The Eden men said the Ulladulla fleet fished their home grounds too hard, stripped them bare, then came down to Eden waters and tried to do the same. The Eden fleet's too lazy, the Ulladulla men replied. They conserved their grounds by sitting in the pub. People became heated. A few shots were fired, but it never came to much. In the end, they made a sensible compromise, drew a line on the map and agreed to stay on either side. The Eden men don't go north of it. The Ulladulla boats don't come south. There's not much room for long-range feuding around here. People are too busy trying to make a living to nurse this kind of grudge. If they have a grudge at all, it's against the marketing system and the profits the wholesalers make.